Welcome to our series of tutorials where we are looking at designing or developing a topic in a Moodle course. And I think it is important, or it is fundamental, that we set the foundation as we build on the foundation. And the foundation are that we must be aware of the principles and guidelines that will enable us to build good quality online topics or modules for our courses. So the first principle that we will look at is what we call constructive alignment. So in constructive alignment, here we just want to ensure for each of our modules that the intended learning outcomes that you have stated for that module or topic, and the learning activities that you have actually designed, or the learning experiences that you're going to design for that topic, as well as the assessment items that you're going to design or develop for that topic, they should be clearly aligned. So whatever you have stated as the intended learning outcomes and the teaching and learning activities, and you're going to see examples in the later stages of this presentation, and the types of assessment or the assessment items should actually be aligned. So that is the principle of constructive alignment. Now, it's also important that when we are stating our learning outcomes for each of the modules or topics, that it is properly stated, or they are properly stated. And so the anatomy of a well stated learning outcome is that it should have three components: the performance or the action verb, the condition, and the criteria or standard of performance. So when we talk about the action verb, this is linked to the Bloom's taxonomy, where we are looking at the proper verb, and the verb should be observable and measurable. So you can look through the Bloom's taxonomy and be able to identify the proper verb to use when you're stating your learning outcomes. Of course, it is linked to the cognitive level, the cognitive level. So the remember level, if it is remember, you can consider using verbs such as list, define, identify. So here we just want to check that learners are able to pick out critical components from their reading. Okay, they're able to list something from what they have read. At the understand level, here we want learners to be able to explain, to be able to summarize, to be able to describe. At the application level, here we want learners to be able to demonstrate that they are able to calculate maybe the area of a triangle. If I'm teaching mathematics, they're able to implement. So they can use principles that you have taught them in that module to actually implement it in a real world situation. At the analyze level, here we want learners to be able to compare, draw comparisons, differentiate, be able to categorize items based on the knowledge that they have attained from their reading. And then at the evaluate level, we want learners to be able to critique, justify, assess. So you can give them a case study, and they're able to critique and be able to come up with a report that is providing a critique of what they have read. Maybe you give them a situation that they are able to analyze it, and as they have analyzed it, they're able to draw parallels from other existing similar situations, and then they're able to critique. So that is at the evaluate level. At the create, now they need to be able to use the information or the knowledge that they have attained, the skills that they have attained through the module, and they're able to come up with something. So they're able to formulate, they're able to design, they're able to construct. So at the performance level, we need to be able to pick out the proper verb, and this we will need to make reference to the Bloom's taxonomy, so that we're able to pick the proper verb for our modules. It's important also that we need to talk about the condition of operation, the circumstances and constraints within which they need to perform that particular activity or task. And then finally, the standard. This is the criteria through which you're going to measure and ensure that the learners have actually been able to attain the acceptable performance level. So it's important when you're stating your learning outcomes that it should have these three components: the condition, the performance verb, and the standards, the standard of operation, or the criteria for acceptable standards of performance. So please ensure that your learning outcomes are properly stated and they contain those three components. Now, after you have stated your learning outcomes, remember the constructive alignment. The next aspect is designing the learning activities. And to do this, we can make reference to Professor Laurie Land's ABC learning design approach, which recommends 6 types of learning activities. The first one is acquisition activities. So this is where you're giving learners some text to read, a video to watch, or an audio podcast to listen to. So that is the acquisition activities. They are more of you're providing learners with resources so that they can be able to read and get to know more information about that particular module. Then you can also consider putting in inquiry-based activities where you are getting learners to investigate. So you can give them some investigation activities where they're supposed to evaluate case studies, analyze certain data sets. So that is an inquiry, and you have actually guided their inquiry so that what are they looking for in this data set, in this case study, and of course it is linked to their reading, because in the acquisition they have actually been able to read about that particular topic or that particular module, and then they are now you're giving them an activity which enables them to actually apply what they have read through using that information in a given context. Discussion is whereby you give students an opportunity to engage and interact with each other through structured debates and discussions around the topic. So you can pick out and give them some discussion questions, put them into groups, and they can even have some peer forums or some synchronous class sessions where you can put them into breakout rooms and give them certain areas which you need them to discuss. So this is a very good constructivist activity because it gets learners to share what they already know, and they learn from each other. Then you can also consider a practice activity where you're giving learners an opportunity to put into practice application. They apply the knowledge in a given context. Then collaboration, where you give them project-based activities where they are working together into groups to create or produce an artifact that you are going to grade. And then we have the production level. These are the create level of the Bloom's taxonomy. So you're supposed to create something, design, formulate, construct something based on what you have learned throughout the module, and they can submit it in form of an e-portfolio where they record themselves, or they create pictorial evidence with descriptions of what they have done, explaining. If it is a system, they need to be able to pick the system configurations and demonstrate that the system is displaying the required output. If it is an artifact, then they can be able to showcase that artifact, which you can then use to assess. So these are the 6 different types of learning activities that you can design for your module. So you can have an acquisition activity, inquiry activity, discussion activity, practice activity, collaboration activity, or a production activity. Now, how do we put this together in your module? Now, I'm going to come up with we have come up with an acronym that is called PAIR, just like the pear shape. So for each module, we need you to prepare the learner by giving them some acquisition activity. So you can give them a reading resource to read, a video to watch. So it's preparing them by providing them the knowledge, the information they need to adequately then move to the next set of activities, such as engage. So in the engage level, here you can give students a collaborative activity or a discussion activity or an inquiry activity where they're supposed to discuss in a collaborative activity, engage together, critique some documents, if it is a case study, if it is a scenario you've provided them, and it gives them an opportunity to engage with each other, to interact. They will also engage with you because you'll be providing them feedback as they are interacting, sharing in the forums. At a given point, you come in and you provide guidance, and you provide feedback, you provide direction, you provide clarity from the contributions that they have provided in the discussion. Then there's the application or the apply level. So here is you give the students an opportunity to practice what they have learned. So if it is mathematics, you can give them some questions to attempt, and if it is you're teaching them on writing skills, you can give them some excerpts to to write and share in the assignment for you to grade. So at the application level, here you want to see that learners are able to demonstrate their learning. Okay, and then reflection are opportunities for students to be able to share their learning through reflection. So you can have a reflection journal at the end of the topic, where they're supposed to share what they have learned, share their experiences, where they're able to journal, and it also provides them an opportunity to do what we call goal setting. So after they have engaged with others, applied the knowledge, then they're able to set goals depending on how they have done self-evaluation, and be able to project where they wish to, or areas that they may need to sharpen their reading and learning through the interaction with others, and also reading and exploring other reading resources. And then they can further apply that knowledge again to confirm that they have actually understood. So the PAIR framework is an excellent structure to create learner-centric instruction or design. So here we want to create learner-centered modules or topics. So this framework would be very good in guiding us in achieving that. So of course, we will combine the ABC learning design approach, the 6 types of learning activities that Professor Laurie Land has recommended for us, with this framework, the PAIR framework, within our modules. And we're going to practically see how this builds up when we will be moving and designing at least one topic. It's also important that you think about the assessment, and developing authentic assessment is very important. Authentic means that you're giving students assessments that enable them to apply their learning in a real world situation. Then because of the AI aspects, we need to give preference to process over product. So give students an opportunity to explain the process of how they were able to tackle the assessment. Don't just grade the final product, because that AI can actually generate the final product, but the process is important. So process as evidence is important in the design of our assessment. Then also have feedback checkpoints during the assessment, have opportunities where you provide feedback, and so that you're able to make learning visible. Remember, we have formative assessment where we are assessing for learning, and assessment of learning, that is the summative assessment. So in the formative assessment, let us prioritize evidence based approaches. Let us also prioritize putting in feedback checkpoints. And then also, because of AI, we need to check that the learner understands the process. We can have oral-based defenses or oral-based Q&A sessions, where you want to test ownership and evaluate and evaluative judgment. It's also important that you also consider in-class or supervised elements, where you provide secure evidence of individual capability. So here you can have virtual sessions. Of course, during the oral defense and the Q&A sessions, you can actually achieve this. So you have supervised elements where you are interacting with the learner, discussing their assessment items. If you had given them an assessment to create something, to formulate or construct something, you are able to check that they are able to understand the whole process and they're able to defend their work. Okay. Then reflections are important. Always put in reflection opportunities. They also enable you to assess the learner. And there are so many tools within the Moodle that can actually enable us to be able to come up with very good assessments. And we're going to check on those tools and how to set them up. So those are the principles that will guide us as we are designing our online course. So in the next steps, we're going to see how we can implement different types of different types of tools within our topics, which are targeted to those types of learning activities that we have just explored.